if you can hear me, then you know that it has been fast and furious with these free agent picks. And I want to talk about them because I think that one of the things we have to note is what were we told, right? What were we told? What were we told? What could we hold our brain trust for the Giants? What can we hold them their feet to the fire for on this first day of free agency? There's a couple things that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the moves that I loved. The next thing I want to talk about is some moves that I'm like, we'll wait and see. But I also want to talk about the Giants once again failing to secure homegrown talent. I'm going to do it all right here. It's going to be a hot and heavy next 28 minutes as I get you ready for Paul Dottino and the Big Blue Breakdown. Coming up next. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons. New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure you go over there, check out everything that we're doing over there at the New York Giants on that side. Is going to be hot and heavy. The first of my good, great, and uglies will most likely be dropping tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you're locked in for that. Isaiah Likely. Edmonds, obviously, just talking about some of the guys who are going to be new Giants that I'm really excited about. And that's kind of where I want to start. I want to start with praise for the people that the Giants were able to get or to keep, right? Because that was, to me, just as important as getting was keeping. Like who were the guys that the Giants were able to secure so far at 7:33 p.m. on the first day of the tampering period, I guess the legal tampering period, because nobody can sign these things until later on. But I want to start with Isaiah Likely, right? And if you guys don't know, I'm an Isaiah Likely fan. And the reason why I'm an Isaiah Likely fan is because he's a really good tight end who fits the model of what your modern day NFL tight end, pass receiving tight end is supposed to be, right? And I think that this is a win for the Giants because they were able to get a guy at what I would consider to be a discount. Like they got him before he was ever able to have his true breakout. So, like, I want you guys to consider this, right? Isaiah Likely has not been a full-time starter in the NFL because he's been behind Mark Andrews. And because he's been behind Mark Andrews, he hasn't really had the opportunity to have a runway to himself. He's kind of been working in this, this kind of tight end by committee type of situation, right? And yeah, that's great, but he's had to watch other tight ends get targets that should have gone to him. He's had to watch as Mark Andrews dropped game-winning touchdown passes wide open with nobody on him. He had to watch as Charlie Kohler was able to get targets that probably should have went to him. And the entire time, he would show you these flashes of brilliance when he was able to get targets. Now, I can tell you one thing for sure. The one person that's not happy about this new opportunity for Isaiah Likely to be like the man at tight end is Lamar Jackson. In my opinion, if it was up to Lamar Jackson would have had Isaiah Likely starting at tight end and not Mark Andrews. And before you guys come to me and go, oh, that's blasphemous, Mark Andrews, blah, 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 blah. Like, Mark Andrews is a product of Lamar Jackson's grace. He works well with the intermediate guys, and Mark Andrews was out on the field. But when Mark Andrews wasn't out on the field, it didn't stop Lamar Jackson from being Lamar Jackson. In fact, in 2020 and 2024, when Lamar Jackson put up the greatest season for a quarterback in the history of quarterbacking, Mark Andrews wasn't a factor for like the first 6 to 8 weeks, maybe. I know that because I do a fantasy football show on Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life, and every week the talk was, do you cut Mark Andrews? Do you drop Mark Andrews from your fantasy team? Because he just wasn't producing. You know who was producing? Isaiah Likely. And I think that if Lamar Jackson had his way, Isaiah Likely would have been the one that got the contract extension from Baltimore and not Mark Andrews. And so now the Giants get Isaiah Likely. And this is who you're getting. You're getting a guy who is an elite level pass catcher. He is not an elite level inline tight end. He's an elite level pass catcher, right? And because he's an elite level pass catcher, you can expect him to be utilized as such. Think of this, and I was trying to come up with an analogy, and you'll read about it more when you read my Good, Great, and Ugly on Isaiah Likely. But Isaiah Likely, to me, his signing was the death knell of Wan'Dale Robinson returning to this team. If you think of Wan'Dale Robinson as a slot guy who has an ability to play outside, right? But is most likely going to be in the slot. That's where his bread will be buttered. You could say the very same thing about Isaiah Likely. He's a guy who's a slot guy who could play outside because he has the speed to be able to go deep. But his best attribute is playing in the slot, where he's really good as a perimeter blocker, right? As an out in space blocker, where you can throw him a screen pass and he can pick you up quality yards, where you can go to the short game, the quick game, the intermediate game, the crossing routes, the stop routes, the option routes. But the one thing that he does, because of who he's played with, is he knows what to do when the quarterback starts scrambling. He knows what to do when the quarterback is buying time because he's getting pressured. So all of those Jackson Dart scrambles can potentially have Isaiah Likely on the end of a pass, as opposed to Daniel Bellinger on the end of the pass. And if you all know how much I think that Daniel Bellinger was underutilized here, then you'll get why I'm so excited about a guy like Isaiah Likely, because you paid him $40 million. You didn't pay him $40 million to come here and be a backup, right? You didn't pay him $40 million to come here and be a backup. You paid him $40 million to come here and be an elite pass catching option at tight end. And that's what he can do. So now you actually get a cheaper version, right? You get Wan'Dale Robinson on the Captain America Super Serum, right? That's essentially what you get. Like, if Wan'Dale Robinson got put into the Super Serum thing, right, he would come out, right? He would emerge. And if he emerged, he would emerge as Isaiah Likely. Like, how cool is that? Like, if you think about it, a bigger, stronger, just as fast, right? Just as fast, Wan'Dale Robinson. I think that's a win for the Giants, right? So that's the first guy that I'm sitting back and I'm going, yeah, no, this is a great pickup, right? And then when you start to get into some of the other pickups, let's start with the punter, or not start with, but let's talk about the punter. Gone is the Scottish Hammer, or the Scottish Jordan Stout, the punter for Baltimore, who, by the way, didn't get a ton of work in Baltimore a lot of times because Baltimore picked up a lot of first downs. They were able to score a lot of points, but a really, really good punter, and one that the Giants and Harbaugh really loved because they paid him a lot of money. Number 1 in the NFL in net punting average, number 3 in gross punting average. Right? Like, you gotta love that. 100 punts downed inside the 20 in one season. Oh, sorry, in 4 seasons, excuse me. Like, that's a weapon. That's a flip the field weapon. So of course I like that. Tremaine Edmonds, right? The linebacker from the Bears. And here's what I'll say, because when the Bears traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens, they essentially replaced him with Tremaine Edmonds. And now it's interesting that Harbaugh goes back to the well again, the Bears, and he gets a former Bears linebacker in Tremaine Edmonds, to come and be the new middle linebacker here. I'll say this about it. I like the signing because they had to get someone to replace Bobby Okereke, who was the team captain, in over the last 3 years. Did they get better at linebacker? No, they just switched out a linebacker for a linebacker. If you think Tremaine Edmonds, is a better linebacker than let's say Bobby Okereke, that's cool. You can't honestly and truly tell me you think he's a much better linebacker than a Bobby Okereke, because that just would be disingenuous. They're both good linebackers, and for whatever reason, the Bears no longer wanted to pay Edmonds. For whatever reason, the Giants no longer wanted to pay Okereke. But putting Edmonds in Okereke's spot still leaves you with a problem. You need another linebacker. That could be coming in the draft, but I really did love Edmonds in that spot. Oh, this is hilarious. Let me get this up. Where is that at? Where are my things not showing? It is weird today for sure. Someone says, "Hey, coach, hope you handled those dudes questioning you at the combine. Let them know I'm coach. And if you keep messing with me, you're going to have a giant issue." That's funny. Where do we go to fill the right guard position? Do we release Runyon and save $9 million, or do we keep Runyon? I mean, I'm radical in my thoughts about that. Somebody said Bobby Okereke. That was Mike NZ2 LW. Bobby O was not a good linebacker anymore. You are absolutely bugging, my friend. If you think that Bobby Okereke was not a good linebacker anymore, you are bugging. Bad linebackers don't get that many tackles. Like, bad linebackers don't get turnovers like that. Like, he's not a bad linebacker. He was a linebacker that was in a defense that did not fit his skill set the best, and he still was one of the better defensive players that the Giants had. I'm not going to say it's stupid. That's just not very informed It's just not a very informed decision, right? They're not a very informed um take, if you will. I digress though. I want to keep this positive right now. I like Tremaine Edmonds. I think going forward, he's going to be really good for the Giants. So that was good. And then I want to get into the two re-signs so far today. First off, shout out to them bringing back, bringing back a guy who I thought has just been playing well in his role, and that's Gunnar Olszewski, right? They re-signed him a few days ago, got him done. Today, Isaiah Hodgins was re-signed. A big body receiver who kind of understands the lay of the land in New York, but doesn't understand this offense. That's not really a needle mover for me. I don't care how much people like him. I want a better option as an outside receiver. But I do like continuity, and having a guy like Hodgins helps with that continuity. There's a guy who, let's see, who I'm thinking about right now. I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, so I like Hodgins. But there are receivers in the draft that I think could be X receivers who I believe bring more to the table than what Hodgins brings to the table. I'm looking forward to seeing if the Giants add any of those guys, to the fold. That's what I'm really looking for. I'm really looking to see if they add one of those guys to the fold. The re-signing of Jermaine Illuminor for the price that they were able to get him at, to me, I think that is a big win. I think that's a huge win. I think that's a massive win to get Illuminor at that price tag, right? Continuity at right tackle, top 10 in pass blocking over the last year, along with Andrew Thomas. So two guys who should be able to continue to do the job. A great signing. I would not have been mad if they decided not to re-sign him and let Marcus Bowe move into the right tackle. But this is what I'll tell you. If Marcus Bowe is not starting, I feel as if Marcus Bowe is going to be another one of those casualties of offensive linemen that never pan out and become starters. If he doesn't move inside to be a guard and fill into Greg Van Roten's spot, if they don't find a place to put him, to me, that's going to signal something negative going forward. I just don't know what it is yet. I'm not willing to say what it is. I've actually said this already, by the way. I think it is Styles, no matter what, for me. Put him next to a veteran like Edmonds. I think you got the makings of one of the better combinations in all of football. Yeah. So I love the Illuminor pick. And yes, they just signed or just agreed in principle, I guess, with Ardarius Washington, which is one of the guys that I said that they should probably go out there and take. So I'm glad that the Giants brass, they're listening to me and what I have to say. Not really, but I think it's funny anyway. Ardarius Washington is a guy who I think is going to bring grit. He's going to bring toughness. He's going to bring an understanding of secondary play under a coach that he's played for before. He's going to get an opportunity that he'll be hungry to possibly be a starter. I think that is going to work well for what he's able to do for this team. But if he's nothing more than just a mentor and a guy who comes in and gives you situational minutes, I think it's a good signing. They didn't break the bank for him. I'm down for it. I think it's a good way to go. Somebody said y'all still trash, but I don't know who that person is, and I don't know who the y'all is. I don't know why. I think this is a good question, and I don't want to. I want to mention this because I think this is a good a good question, right? It says um it says no concern about the O-line taking a step back without Brasillo. No, I'm not worried about the O-line taking a step back without Brasillo because I don't think the problems with the O-line was that they weren't being coached right. The problems with the O-line stemmed from them not being healthy. Whenever the offensive line was healthy, they were able to play. Remember, Carmen Brasillo came in and took over a completely revamped offensive line that then was healthy. Right? When Bobby Johnson, I think it was Bobby Johnson, when he went over to Washington, that offensive line performed pretty darn well. And then this year, that offensive line was banged up and they didn't play well. So, like, I don't put too much into the whole, well, what are they going to be without Brasillo? I don't want Romeo Doubs. I don't know why anyone who has the type of receivers that the Giants have would want Romeo Doubs. What you need is not another slot receiver. You need a guy that allows Malik Neighbors to spend a lot more time in the slot. That's just in my opinion. I don't really rock with the Romeo Doubs. Y'all still trash. It's hilarious to me. Still hilarious to me. So I like those moves. I've liked all of the moves. Here's what I don't like. You don't re-sign Cordell Flott, right? Okay, you lose a guy like or you gain, Isaiah Likely. So you've got to let a tight end go, right? You essentially bring in a guy to do what you bring in a guy to do what the other guy was doing. He walks right over there to Tennessee and gets a nice little bag. But how do you lose Cordell Flott? I'm going to just be honest with you guys. There are not a lot of cornerbacks in this like free agent market that are better than Cordell Flott. There are not a lot of cornerbacks in this free agent market that have performed better than Cordell Flott performed in 2025. Right? Remember when all these people told me that everybody hated Brian Dable? Like, I thought they all hated him. Why are all these people ready to go and sign up to play for him again? Is it just the money? Because I'm pretty sure that these guys can garner money somewhere else. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just I get it, right? I think Parham, Antoine Parham probably disagrees with me. He thinks that Cordell Flott wasn't good. Is that what you're trying to say, Antoine? Because I'm willing to like be okay. Let's check out some comments on this, right? I think with Flott, they wanted to keep him. There was a question about his durability and if he would be a solid press corner. I feel like they know he has grown as a player. See, I don't think that was the case at all. If we're being honest, they knew he could be a press cornerback. He played in Wink Martindale's system. He started at cornerback in Wink Martindale's system. They knew he could play, right? They knew he could play. I don't know who said that the Ravens players hated Harbaugh. I don't know who said that, but whoever said that, I would have said they were stupid. Did they disagree with Harbaugh? Maybe. Yeah, but they don't have to play for Harbaugh. See, that's the difference that people don't get. Anybody that comes to New York, they don't have to actually play for Harbaugh. I know that sounds weird because they're playing for Harbaugh, but they don't, because Harbaugh doesn't coach the offense. He doesn't coach the defense. He doesn't even coach the special teams. He's a CEO coach. So even if you didn't like Harbaugh, and I don't think that there were people who didn't like Harbaugh, even if you didn't like Harbaugh, you could play underneath Harbaugh's regime, because most of the times you won't even be talking to Harbaugh. You'll be talking to the OC, or you'll be talking to the DC, right? And this idea that players are walking all over Dave's is hilarious too. I just think y'all just be saying anything anytime somebody leaves here that didn't have success. And I'll still go to my grave saying that if they didn't fire Dable last year, he would have probably won enough games that it would have probably kept his job, and that's why they fired him. But I digress. We'll see. We'll see. I don't like all the rest of the guys I'm okay with leaving. Wandale, I didn't think there would be a place for him, so I thought that writing was on the wall, right? I know why you have to lose some people, but Cordell Flott got pinched because another team, and this was reported, and I'm trying to remember who reported it because I want to give them credit, right? And if I can find it, I'll read it. But according to reports, the Giants had Cordell Flott wrapped up, right? They had Cordell Flott wrapped up and all ready to go. And then in the 12th hour, the Tennessee Titans came back in and they laid out what it was going to look like for Cordell Flott to play in their offense. I mean, in their defense. They showed him what his role was going to be and how it all played out. And my only problem with it is that this is another homegrown talent, not one that you missed on and you're like, okay, we can lose him because it's better out there, but a guy that you leave who is one of the he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. That's a free agent. And y'all are laughing, right? Like a lot of y'all are laughing, but that 22 class is the best class that they've had, because this one is too early to check. And you guys mark my words, when Evan Neal is starting for a team next year and having success, I don't want somebody to say, oh, well, somebody fixed them. I just want you to admit that the Giants never really gave that man a chance. Right? I don't like the fact that the Giants are losing homegrown talent. Like, I don't like the fact that the Giants can't seem to get to second contracts with the homegrown talent. Not the guy that you brought in as the mercenary, right? Not the guy that you wanted to bring in that was a mercenary. Hey, and I can understand why somebody would want to keep Evan Neal. Evan Neal fits the perfect profile of what a Ravens offensive lineman would look like. We'll see if he shakes out as a guard. I still think that the best role for him would be to move him next to Andrew Thomas and have the best run blocking side in all of football. The best run blocking left side in all of football. Stamp it. But if he goes somewhere else, he's going to be a problem. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how about this, right? I'm going to get out of the way. Because my boy Paul Dottino is popping on with the Big Blue Breakdown. That should be starting here any minute, right? That should be starting here any minute on the New York Giants on SI YouTube page. Shout out to everybody who has joined me on X. Great numbers over there. Everybody that's joined on the New York Giants on SI, we love y'all and what you're doing. Hey, if you're over on X, do me a favor and come on over to the YouTube page, hit that subscribe, help us get over to help us to get up to 4,000 subs. We're at 3,000 and now we're greedy and now we want to be at 4,000. That's kind of how it works, right? But check out, if you're on YouTube right now, check out Paul Dottino and the Bit Blue Breakdown. He's going to be here talking to you way more about free agency. Like I said, I love the moves. I love some of the signings. I don't like losing Cordell Flott. I think that's a loss for the Giants. I don't think there's a better cornerback that's out there in free agency. Now, maybe they're saying maybe this becomes a draft thing. I don't know. But in free agency, I don't think there's a better guy. I will be back tomorrow because free agency is hot. So I'll be back tomorrow. When I tell you guys that I'll be back tomorrow, I've been living up to my word. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.